What's poppin', Croft Gang? So in this video, we're going to be looking at Rise of the Tomb Raider, and we're going to be looking at the gameplay and see how it holds in 2020. Now for this project, I actually played the game on the hardest difficulty because there's so many skill sets and different play styles that you can play this game. So I wanted to see if I can play the game however I want on the hardest difficulty. So let's get into it. Unlike Tomb Raider 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider is not linear, as it has hub areas where you can accept quests from various locations and people. So the first aspect of the gameplay I want to focus on is the shooting. And to be honest, the shooting is not as smooth as it is in Tomb Raider 2013. You can see in the clip that I actually have to step to find the precision I need for a really precise shot. Even on the highest sensitivity, it takes you a while for you to put the cursor exactly where you want it, like it's slow and clunky. Also unprecise. In smooth shooting games, you're able to put your cursor at any point of the screen at a pretty fast speed. However, in this game, you can't. It's just crazy that Tomb Raider 2013 actually had better aiming and it was faster and more precise. It wasn't perfect, but it was smoother than Rise of the Tomb Raider. Boot the game up if you think I'm lying. So another thing I noticed in this game is sometimes the shooting is just awkward and it leads to weird moments. Like you can see in the clip, like I'm actually on the guy's head and somehow I'm just missing. Like I don't understand. While playing this game, I definitely had a lot of weird interactions when it came to shooting at people, and it was definitely a good handful. So check this clip out. Since we're talking about funky interactions with shooting, peep this. I'm just sneaking around, I'm trying to land my headshot. And watch how this guy just instantly snaps to me. Like what? So not only did I have weird funky moments when it came to aiming and shooting at people, but sometimes other mechanics in the game would just start glitching out. And I definitely have a couple of recordings to show. So I'm just trying to grab this bottle and like Laura's just spazzing out, like she's having a full seizure. Like look at her head, did y'all see that? This didn't happen often, but sometimes like the cover system just failed to work. Like look in this clip, like I'm just getting popped and the cover system failed me. But enough about talking about the shooting, I want to talk about other aspects to the combat. Combat in this game is very fun, but I do have my 2 cents on it. It seems like when there's a group of enemies in this game, just like Tomb Raider 2013, they just give you explosive containers to shoot to easily get rid of them. I would like to use all these new skills they brought into Rise to deal with enemies. Mechanic I really like are the dodge skills. They're just so satisfying to hit, and if it's just immobilizing your enemy, it allows you to get creative with what you're gonna do after you hit it. Something bad this game still took from 2013 is spamming grenades at people, man. I feel like it's just a cheap way of making the game hard, like you're just forced to move out of cover, and I feel like they can just use other elements to make the game more difficult. But I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man, at this part it took me a couple of tries. I definitely was stressing, especially with the people in the shields, but they caught a Molotov to the face, and they killed each other. So like I said earlier, the game expands upon the skills from Tomb Raider 2013, and we have Brawler, Hunter, and Survivor skill sets. You guys already know the vibes with those. Rise offers more creative ways to give Trinity the work. Out of all the ways you can get rid of enemies in this game, one of my favorites is definitely the poison arrows. These puppies are so OP. It's so easy and you can just really move through big groups of enemies with ease with these things. Now, if you're on my channel, you know I get into depth with a lot of stuff. And one thing I noticed with this game is some of these guns have cool descriptions. And one with a noticeable description was the shotgun called the Harbinger. And in its description, it says a modified full auto shotgun that announces judgment is coming. So I had to use it and to see does it live up to its description. Let's listen to how it sounds. In my honest opinion, that thing does not sound threatening whatsoever. It's a fast shotgun and it was cool to use, but it did not live up to that description, and the gun sounded so much more threatening in Tomb Raider 2013. Even the assault rifle sounds weak. One thing I noticed with this game is with the bow and arrow, you hold it shorter than what you do in Tomb Raider 2013. Like there's a skill you can upgrade to hold it longer, but initially it's shorter than what it is in Tomb Raider 2013. It's like that her arm get weaker or something. Also, there's a whole bunch of arrows you can craft, and it kind of defeats the purpose of other weapons or attachments you can get for them. Like you can craft explosive arrows, but then you can attach a grenade launcher to your assault rifle. Like what's the point? You either need one or the other. I have noticed when you use survival instincts in this game, you can use it to your advantage when enemies come and they try to use smoke gas to blind your vision, and it just reveals them. You can hit them with stuns, and of course, you can hit them with some poison arrows. This game definitely pays homage to the older Tomb Raider games with the animal encounters. One of the most notable moments that I had with the animal encounters is when you're running away from that bear, because it reminds me of Crash Bandicoot 3 when you're running away from the dinosaurs. A gameplay mechanic that I'm going to have to critique because the game uses it so much is the run sequences.
Run, Laura, run!
It's not that I hate the run sequences, because I don't. They look visually appealing and everything, but they just happen too much, and it's like the game always has to keep it fast-paced, but you're really just holding up and then jumping. I feel like they use these run sequences for filler, when there's definitely room for other gameplay mechanics that they can use other than run sequences. Now I want to talk about the platforming. The platforming in this game is honestly pretty straightforward. There are certain skills that you get in the game for platforming that I feel like you didn't need, and that's definitely the Broadway arrows. I just felt like there was enough utensils that you already had to platform. Like you had the ice pick, you can use the rope and the ice pick to get higher heights. But the Broadway arrows weren't a bad idea. I just felt like they had no place in the game. They do unlock another element of combat, as you can use it to climb heights and then do whatever you want to do. But I hardly saw any of those areas to attach the broad arrows into the environment. An optional platforming item I think has a lot of potential in this game is the rope ascender. The reason I say that is because it just lets you zoom out of the way. And instead of having all these scripted run sequences, let's say the game took away our weapons but just left us with a rope ascender, and then we have to run away from enemies. It could also be used for those people that try to speedrun games and that type of thing. They can even give us a pursuing enemy that we can't kill, and give us the rope ascender, and we have to find the correct path to run away from them to escape them. There's definitely a lot of potential they can use with the rope ascender. The puzzles in this game were relatively simple. You still have to wear your thinking cap though, but the puzzles are pretty short. They're not really long at all. I'm not gonna lie though, there was two I had to Google because what they wanted me to do was just not obvious to me. Like on the bath tomb, you had to shoot an arrow through the fence, and it was just not apparent to me because you don't normally do that. But they're short and sweet, just the way I like. I wanted to take this time to talk about the noticeable moments that happened when I played this game. There's this one part where you start combat. Usually in this game, when you take cover behind stuff, it doesn't normally break on you. But in this specific segment of the game, it does, and it catches me off guard. You can see in the clip that I try to take cover behind all this wood stuff, but then all of a sudden they're shooting through it, and then I start to panic, and then you see me getting glazed left and right, and eventually die. So it's a change of pace for combat, a nice little change. I think there's only like 2 other gunfights where the enemies can shoot through the stone. I was doing this side quest, and what made it really stick out to me was the fact that usually when you start combat in this game, you're either doing stealth kills and they get alerted. But in this side quest, the enemies are just laid out and you think they're dead, and all of a sudden they get up. And it really surprised me because that doesn't normally happen. So it's a nice little change of pace on how combat initiates. It seems like in the new trilogy of Tomb Raider, there seems to always be an ancient undead type of enemy. And in Rise of the Tomb Raider, it's the Deathless. And the way they introduced the Deathless is actually really cool. You hear about them in the context of the game, but you don't see them for a while. And then you get little glimpses of them in certain cutscenes in certain areas of the game. You start seeing people get snatched up from the cut out of nowhere. Then to people trying to bring you alive getting stabbed up out of nowhere. These enemies are surrounded by so much mystery, and you hear so many of the NPCs and Katesh talk about them so much, and by the time you get closer encountering them, you get to see some of their works. And you see all the bloodbath that they made, and it makes you wonder, what are you about to encounter? For those reasons, I think that the Deathless had a really good introduction, and when you actually fight them, they're a little different than other enemies. Their weapons of choices are different. They got a little bit more HP than usual, and some of these guys be taking more than 2 headshots, but there's still enough ammunition and ways to deal with them however you want to. They can still catch that work like anybody else. Now, I thought phase 1 of the final boss was a hot mess. One, I didn't really like the idea of shooting a catapult at a helicopter was really creative. To me, it was a little cheesy, but it's whatever. What made this part a hot mess is, on the hardest difficulty, enemies just spawn left and right at every angle, and they just keep coming. Like, enemies were spawning out the wall, bro. Like, this fight was just a whole mess. There's spontaneous generation happening right in front of me. Enemies are spawning right in front of each other, fighting each other. I don't know what's going on, but everyone's catching some poison arrows. The second half of the boss fight is better articulated, and it does something that I said the game should do, and that's take away your weapons and make you play in a very specific play style. The only weapons you have during this boss fight is your ice pickaxe and cans that you find in the environment. This boss fight kind of reminds me of a great value version of Dr. Freeze from the Arkham Asylum series. The boss fight was definitely enjoyable, and during the boss fight I definitely served Constantine a 10-piece combo with no fries. So this game definitely lets you play however you want, but it does reward stealth the most. For all the new skills in this game, you can definitely piece them together and you can pull off some unique stuff. The combat in this game is more expansive than it is in Tomb Raider 2013, especially with all the new things you can craft and all the new abilities. But it just doesn't play as smooth as Tomb Raider 2013. Like, the aiming is definitely just better in Tomb Raider 2013. This game definitely had a couple of glitches and like small animation issues that didn't seem fluid. This game definitely paces itself better than Tomb Raider 2013, and it gives a little more combat variation than Tomb Raider 2013 due to better stealth. But I still would have liked to see bosses because you explore way more than you do in the previous game. But animals don't count as bosses. The game really excels in the minor details. Like, the game looks good and they have so many animations that really picks it apart from other games. Even when Laura's injured, you can see the animations and you can see the cuts and the blood very detailed. These Tomb Raider games always have good lighting. Like, when you're in a cave or even when you're underwater, the game looks really good. Even when you're crafting things, it shows you the item you're crafting and where it appears on the character's model. It might have seemed like I bashed this game, but honestly I enjoyed this game a lot. It's a very decent game. Like, if I had to give it an honest score, I'd give it a 7. What really gets me is I think the game truly excels in the story and the characters, to be honest. So if you haven't seen my videos where I break down the characters and do character analysis, go check those out. Don't be ducking no good content now, y'all. The next Tomb Raider video, we'll be exploring this game's immersion, and you guys already know what time it is, so vibe out.